Welcome to Philly Tech Connect podcast, where Philly's tech minds meet. CEOs, developers, dreamers. This is your space. Each week we explore the journeys of tech innovators. Join us and be inspired.
Hit it. Hey everyone, Dave here with another episode of the Philly Tech Connect podcast. Today I'm speaking with Akiva Gavrylin. Akiva produces software that solves complex problems at key to advantage. So if you have a business problem that needs a solution where software is the answer, he's your address. Akiva, how are you doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for agreeing to chat with the community. Always love talking with technical individuals. I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and your background because I think it's quite interesting. You mentioned, for example, being a rabbi at one point. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Key to Advantage.
So I grew up in a family of programmers, so it was a kind of a given path. You know, there's the good old Jewish joke that when a kid is born, they say, Dr. Schneider was born, or Mr. Goldschmidt Esquire, or in my case, it was, he will be a programmer. You know, that was almost a predestined kind of thing. So, you know, Russian Jewish background, math, programming, like go for the brains because you can't rig that type of profession. There's no way of bribing yourself through it. You know, grew up in the former Soviet Union. So it's kind of that type of environment where brains are of value because there's no way to cheat through that kind of approach. That was important. So I went for that. Essentially. That's how I got my English. I got my English because I went to a specialized English school, then specialized math school, physics, university, additional extracurricular, you know, good Jewish parenting, kind of helicoptering kind of thing. And after a few years of university in applied math and computer science, I took a sabbatical and I moved continents. I moved from Ukraine to States. I was in a lower upstate New York kind of thing. More like Nyack, Spring Valley, Muncie kind of area. And I spent some time in a rabbinic school environment and got married. But all the times that I was in the rabbinic school and then I went into outreach, I sort of always was this guy who is the interpreter between the people who know the lingo and people who are interested in understanding what the content is. So essentially in Key to Advantage, when I came back to the family business, because the family business kept going, you know, even though I checked out for some time, family business kept going and growing. And Key to Advantage is part of this branch of big significant business, which has been mainly done in Europe. We have some branches in Germany, Netherlands, Spain, Eastern Europe, you know, all over. Europe has been our main segment. I'm sort of bringing the family's business into the American market. But the main segment that we're interested in is anybody who is interested, not just in, oh my gosh, cybersecurity. Yes, we've been doing penetration testing ever. How long have you been in software? Ever since Nokia was considered a smartphone. You know, 92, whatever the other numbers were, 9210, that came out, you know, before BlackBerry was the BlackBerry, when Symbian was considered a smartphone platform. So I've been in it and I came back to it because, you know, my family got bigger. And when, you know, typical Jewish thing, like in Philly, oh, what do you do? Oh, don't you want to like go into sales with us into real estate? And I'm like, I pictured myself the client that I would be talking with. And I'm like, I'm good with people, but like, I'm not sure. So I got back in touch with family and I'm like, you know, we've always been sort of keeping touch, you know, having traction. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I got back into business and with this entrepreneur head of I'm the same exact interpreter, except it is between the business person who has an issue in their business and the guys who are like talking the tech language, whether it be, you know, the guy who has a problem with business does not need to know what are they going to use, Python, Java, C Sharp, whatever that is. He has an issue in the business, or he wants to scale the business. He wants a mobile app. He wants it to be secure. He wants it, whatever. So we go through the process, and 90% of people who come to me, I say, you don't need my help. You need subscription software, or you don't have a business model. We essentially combine this, the businessman, the entrepreneur, the team of business analytics people, programmers, and me in between, sort of making sure that it synergizes. So I mostly do business development in what I do. I never enjoyed like just diving into the code and sitting there. I have friends who could sit there for hours. I'd rather, the Talmud code anytime, but not
Interesting.
this kind.
So this business, Key to Advantage, is this one that your parents started back in Ukraine, or are the roots of it even before that?
No, it's back in Ukraine. My mom worked on machines that were bigger than that's probably as big as my house back in the day. It had different names over time. It had Creo Company was one of the names. It's, for the sake of the conversation right now, that's unessential. But on the American territory, we are called Key to Advantage. This is essentially with the way I work with my family is they are my subcontractors.
Mhm.
For the sake of just it logistically works better when it
Simplifying
comes.
it. Yeah. When you think about business development in America versus maybe some experience in Europe, are there any differences that may be noted, culturally, or is it more business is business kind of everywhere? People are people, sales is sales.
In a certain way, it could be, but culturally, there's much less of a let's get it quick, let's go get it done. Europe still has a little bit of an overtone, and I don't know, they're not going to throw stones at me overseas just because, but it has an overtone of a post socialist environment where things take time. Like when they hear, I'm going to give you an example that's not related to software, but just culturally. In Europe, when they hear about lady giving birth and then going back to work after 2-3 months, or being discharged from the hospital in 2 days, they're like, oh. So they like to take time. It's much less in America. People really put in a lot of hours, and they expect results to be scalable at a more quicker pace. So that would be one of the big differences.
You mentioned that, many conversations you have, sometimes the result is what you just need is a subscription sort of out of the box solution that exists. Are you seeing things like that more and more with software? I know there's, now there's, you're also this ability for people to do low code, no code solutions. There's obviously subscription software has exploded. The need for custom software, how are you seeing that kind of trending over time, with the conversations you're having?
So there's about 3-4 types of different kinds of people that need me and that have to come out of that box, or either by force or they're driven entrepreneurs. Number one, let's say a person has his own business and he wants to make it scalable. And it is a particular business model that follows particular pattern that cannot be solved via subscription software. Which subscription software tries to cover those guys. They take a niche, they have one client, and they grow it. For example, my chiropractor, right? There's a custom software for chiropractors because it's a particular niche of medical billing. So they're being bombarded right now by this custom software agency that produced a product that services chiropractor offices. Now, where I differ with them is that the subscription software might be too cumbersome and they need only 3 out of 20 things. But I will still more or less direct them to go with that route, because custom software that was originally based in a niche and grew in that niche will keep being updated within that niche. Guys like surveyors that pay 500 subscriptions for each and every surveyor that they have nationwide will hit a real problem of that CRM software not scaling down to them. It is keep scaling up, but it's not going to adjust themselves, and it will always show them all these fields that are unnecessary for a poor surveyor to get lost in, and he's ordering like who knows which items. So he needs to narrow it down, and he'd rather pay me monthly or per project as opposed to paying 500 subscriptions on that software. That's when it tips the scale. That's a second kind of guy. A third kind of guy is a guy who wants to make an Uber, something come into something in the market that's not there, by either combining different things. Let's say he's combining services with mapping and with shopping, because the guy who's doing the service is also producing some kind of a, you need to purchase, so you need to itemize it. So when it gets cumbersome and the effort, either time-wise, overtakes, that's when they come to us. Let's say we have a lawyer in Germany whose request basically is, I need you guys to pre-scan the submitted applications and forms that get submitted semi-annually, quarterly, and just to scan them for which fields are missing and just send them back. Now, it's a simple Acrobat type of thing to do, but if you put a regular worker, even if she or he, whoever it is, works manually, it's still hours of work. So yeah, this is a kind of environment. I mean, it goes on and on and on. We're not. This is the difference between being product-based software company and a service-based software company. We are a service-based software company. That's our vision. We help visionaries accomplish their vision, or if they had a lousy app developer or their servers wired like, one of these
Malfunctioning, so to speak. Yeah.
15 pieces Rubik's Cube type of thing, like, and they need to just plug in the team, resolve it, but not have them in a full employment status. That's when we come in.
Makes sense. I could be getting off topic here, but if I'm not mistaken, on the last time we spoke, you referred to either being a rabbi or studying to being a rabbi, and I mentioned it at the introduction, but then it was never touched upon. Is there a story there? Or did I misunderstand?
Well, you could see my background,
Yeah.
right? I didn't blur it. I don't blur my background. I'm a practicing rabbi. I was an assistant rabbi of a congregation in Northeast for many years, for about 9 years. I've been teaching, tutoring, lecturing, different ages, different stages, mostly in outreach, somewhat in, again, I still do troubleshooting. A lot of what I do is connecting the people who are either not religious or somewhat affiliated with the knowledge that they can't access generally because of their lack of language and terminology. So I still do the same thing. I'm entrepreneur in spirit in a lot of different ways, meaning I'm not locked in to software as my only passion in life.
Nice, very cool. It's so yeah, interesting to see the various interests in what seemingly very different sort of disciplines. I appreciate your time today and sharing a little bit about Key to Advantage. Akiva, for people that want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you guys are working on, how can they do so?
The easiest way to get in touch with me is through my email or LinkedIn page. My LinkedIn is just like you see on the screen. Akiva, Gavrylin, Gavrylin. And my email is A, as in my first letter and my last name, Gavrylin @keytoadvantage.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. As a note, just for you to take that as a postscriptum, Rabbi and doing what I'm doing is completely not different, because most people who come with business problems, most of them are sociological problems, or business model is a philosophy. So I essentially am doing the same exact thing, just with different tools.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your time today, Akiva.
All the best. Nice to meet you, Dave. Hope to meet you in person more and hang out and keep growing the Philly business and all over.
Cheers.
That's all for today's episode of Philly Tech Connect. Join our community at phillytechentrepreneurs.com. Special thanks to our sponsor, shortlist.io, a digital marketing agency specializing in top-notch link building, content strategy, and web design. Stay innovative, Philly, and see you next time on Philly Tech Connect.